Hey, what's going on guys? Buzz here, and I'm back with some more Outriders content. And today, I wanted to try and put a spotlight on some huge mistakes that you were likely guilty of committing, which are going to hold back your progression quite a bit. Now, just being honest here, some of these I am actually guilty of myself, and it took me a little bit of time to realize I was actually making these errors because the game doesn't just hit you with full tutorials and pop-ups all over the place, which I really appreciate. But in theory, if you're making these mistakes, you are actually accidentally holding back your progression and hindering your drive towards max world tier or the highest challenge tier content. But before we begin the video, in case you haven't yet smashed that sub button for more intensive Outriders content, please do so. And don't forget to ring the bell to receive all future upload notifications from my channel. Alright, let's begin. Okay, so the first mistake, and probably the one I am most guilty of committing, is how I constantly break down and or sell off green and blue gear. Now, as players, we are instantly attracted to those epic gear pieces, also known as purples, because they feature two mods, and of course those legendary pieces because they look the coolest and feature a tier 3 mod no matter what gear score they drop at. So the mistake that I am seeing a lot of players make is when they just instantly judge a piece of gear or a weapon based on the rarity that it drops at. Green items can actually become the best and most perfectly tuned pieces for your in-game builds if you know what you are looking at and how it can be improved to maximum rank. For example, here's a decent green revolver I purchased from the Rifttown vendors, and just based on the attributes, and if this was something that worked for you, this would be a good place to start. Now, by improving the rarity just one step, the crafting system gives you the option to pick from one of 3 randomly selected tier 1 mods. And here's where you can just stop and evaluate the potential of the weapon for pretty cheap, because in this case, it only cost me something like 8,600 iron to pull off this first rarity improvement. Now, let's say that you've always wanted a revolver with that specific tier 1 talent, and you decided to keep improving the rarity, because if you can get by this first step of improving rarity with exactly what you want, the weapon mod or gear mod, then the next rarity improvement is a real breeze. Now, going again, I had to spend titanium to raise the rarity from rare to epic, and the crafting mechanics will again offer up 3 randomly selected tier 2 mods to choose from. And most people don't know that these tier 2 mods can also be mods you don't currently have saved in your mod libraries. So now you can just break down the weapon and save the mod into your library, or you could go to Xidax and either change the initial tier 1 mod or the tier 2 mod to exactly what you wanted. This really gives us a lot of options to specifically craft our builds to exactly what we want instead of just relying on the game's RNG drop mechanics. So really start paying attention to those green and blue drops for the right attributes, and then try them out at the improved rarity mechanic with Dr. Xidax. Now, if you invest just a little bit of time into this, you can get rid of those useless mods that do nothing for your builds and really get that perfect setup as you power towards the end of the game, or if you're trying to squeeze every last bit of potential out of your challenge tier setups. Because if you were really interested in tackling expeditions, especially anything over say like challenge tier 10, you need your build to be strong and all of your mods to be working in synergy with your playstyle. If you have a mod on your gear that rewards ammo for inflicting a specific status type, and you don't actually have a mod on your gear or weaponry that is capable of inflicting that damage type, that would be a wasted mod, and you'll only get 10 mods spread over your entire 5 pieces of gear. Also, here's a little bonus nugget of information while we're just talking about gear, and it has to do with raising the attributes and spending those crystal points to do so. Now, for this example, I am using a level 10 rifle that is currently at rare tier, and as I jump into the area to raise the attributes, each upgrade is going to cost me 30 crystals for that specific attribute type. Just so you know, by the time you reach max rank, which is rank 50, each one of these upgrades will cost you 150 crystals. Anyways, you can see now that I have fully upgraded my long range damage with all the crystal points from 2% up to its new value of 2.5%. But as you now go in to level up the item, the game assigns these question marks over the past values, and they will now enter into an RNG system. As I level this weapon up a few times, you'll see the attributes change, and at one point, that long-range damage, I had previously fully upgraded, will go down from a value of 3.63 to a value of 3.5. Then, as I level this weapon up again, it drops again from 3.5 down to a value of 3.38. Now initially I thought this was an issue with the game mechanics, because if it was working properly, you would think that a fully upgraded attribute should actually be going up in value, not down. But then I think I landed on the explanation, and it has to do with how the attribute upgrades get more expensive every time you level up a piece of gear or weaponry. What was once a 30 crystal cost per upgrade at level 10 is now a 39 crystal upgrade at level 13. Still, the ratios don't look completely in your favor as you level up, so I would personally recommend not to upgrade your attributes until you have fully upgraded your item and the crystal costs stabilize at their maximum cost values. Otherwise, you could be spending far more in terms of materials to get your items maxed out than you really need to. In one of my previous uploads, I showcased a really simple questline farm for legendary items in which you would activate the Monster Hunt questline with Noah Dembele in Trenchtown, kill 9 of those targets on World Tier 1, and then raise your World Tier to its highest level for the 10th and final target before finally finishing up the hunt and turning it back in for a guaranteed legendary item. And I know that a lot of you have really embraced this legendary farm, not so much for the gear because it doesn't drop at anything higher than a level 42, but the real reason you want those legendaries are for those valuable tier 3 mods, which by the way will be the exact same mods if the legendary drops at a lower level or higher level. You know what to do, just break those legendaries down and the game will store the tier 3 mod permanently into your mod library, so later on in your playthrough, when you have much higher level gear, you can really take those to the max by adding a tier 3 mod to your weapons or gear pieces. So the common mistake I see and hear players making a lot is how they farm for XP to rank up quickly by finding a small trash mob of NPCs and killing them, then dying and respawning. And in reality, this is the absolute worst thing you could do if you were trying to rank up your world tiers and maximize your XP gains. Dying on a world tier actually cost you world tier rank, and if you are currently using this method of killing then dying, you are essentially running on a treadmill, meaning you're putting in all the effort, but you're never actually moving forwards. Instead, what if I told you there was a much better way to farm for XP that can net you quick world tier level ups and is farmable and very quick to complete? Now for this XP farm, we will once again be utilizing the Monster Hunt questline. So you will need to stop by Trenchtown and again speak with the barkeep, Noah Dembele, to begin this quest. Different from the legendary farm though, we're just going to skip 9 of the bosses and instead fast travel to the gate map point because we are going to be farming the monster Wendigo over and over. Now the reason we want to hit this specific target Wendigo at the gate map point is actually for several important reasons. One, the bones you need to interact with are literally right there next to your base camp, and then his combat area is just right next to that. So this will not involve you running to different areas of the map, having to clear chamber after chamber, wasting your time before reaching the boss. Now once you have made it into his combat area, what you want to do is just run past all the smaller adds until you reach Wendigo, and once there, you want to hit him with everything you've got and drop him as quickly as possible. While I'm in this farm, I tend to switch my attention back and forth from the boss to the ads until I have just one ad left. At this point, I jump into my menu, select Return to Lobby, and then select Continue Game. Amazingly, the game will load you right back into the beginning of the first chamber of this monster hunt, and you just need to do the exact same thing you did before. Run past all the ads, get to Wendigo, drop him quickly, rinse and repeat. Now using this method, I ranked up from World Tier 14 to 15 in under 20 minutes, plus I netted a bunch of titanium and quite a bit of epic level gear. But what happens if you're too much of a biological badass and you accidentally kill off all the ads after dropping Wendigo? Well, in that case, and I have no idea why this mechanic is actually in the game, but it is, but in this case, you will then use the fast travel point that pops up in Wendigo's chamber. Fast travel back to your base camp, access your map, and look at the top left-hand portion of your screen and you'll see your local quest and another tab that says All. Select the All tab and you will see the Hunter Wendigo quest pop up with a check mark next to it, and if you hover over the quest, it will give you the option to abandon. If you select this, it will wipe your previous Wendigo clear and you can just run back to the bones and start the battle all over again. Now this method is also really helpful for completionists that want that accolade for reaching the highest world tier because by farming this monster, you're going to be getting large world tier XP chunks very quickly. Okay, final mistake I've been seeing has to do with players not being able to handle higher world tier or even challenge tier content, and their comments normally go something like this. I don't know why, but I can't seem to handle this specific boss fight or get past a certain level on the expeditions. I'm using gear that other people have suggested I use. What am I doing wrong? Now, all in all, that's kind of a general question, because without first seeing their builds, I'm really flying blind here. But the general suggestion I would make is if you are really wanting to hit the hardest content currently in this game, you need to start embracing gun or DPS builds. Now, the way this game rewards players for choosing to go full glass cannon is absolutely mental, because this game is built on bonuses and how you can stack more and more damage onto your builds. Once you reach a certain point, you have so many bonuses that are building on each other, and you can simply just overwhelm the content with sheer damage output. Anomaly builds, what I call skill builds, can be strong, but they require you to be spot on with your gear and weaponry selections along with the mods that you have equipped, and there is literally zero room for error. Also, the way Outriders scales damage output between a gun DPS build and a skill build is heavily skewed in favor of the gun DPS build. As the last time I messed around with the math, an anomaly build needed something like twice the anomaly power versus firepower to equal what a gun-based DPS build could actually dish out. Point being, if you are making the mistake of stacking into other items like health, or for most players, anomaly power, you could be accidentally gimping yourself. Maybe you had great intentions of creating a mega powerful pyro that shoots flames all over the place and devastates CT15 content, and I'm not saying that's not possible, but it will require way more farming and fine-tuning than just a medium-level gun DPS build to push out the same amount of damage. Building on this, and what I would personally recommend you do, is instead of just looking at your individual gear pieces for information, use your stats tab located at the bottom left-hand side of your character inventory screens, because here is where you will really start to get a clearer picture of what your build is capable of doing, and furthermore, just how much extra damage you can stack onto your builds when speccing into full DPS. Here I am just messing around with different gear pieces, and you can see that I have a certain firepower stat, and then I have all of this extra weapon damage bonus. Now in comparison, I have a very low anomaly power stat with what looks like tons of skill damage bonuses, but in reality, my skills will be extremely weak in comparison to what I can do with a weapon, and using my skills to proc those even greater damage bonuses. Now I highly recommend you not only look at your gear, but activate this tab to get the full build picture. And if you were looking to rip through the highest level content, you need to start embracing the full DPS glass cannon philosophy, and you will start to see your clears become easier and easier as you progress to the final expedition. Alright guys, I think I've covered enough mistakes and offered up enough solutions for this one, and as always, I look forward to reading your feedback in the comment section below. If you could take the time to smash that sub button for more intensive Outriders content, it would be appreciated. And don't forget to ring the bell to receive all future upload notifications from my channel. If you would be so kind as to rate and or share the video, I would also appreciate that. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch for weekly streams, join my community Discord server, and of course, find me over on Twitter, posting on most things gaming related. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.